Hello, Oklahoma fans, college football fans. Welcome into Oklahoma at the voice of college football. This is Oklahoma Sooners Live. I'm your host, Josh Mahler, here for another special edition of Oklahoma Sooners Live because we have a very fun show to get into tonight. I had the privilege to be able to talk to David Cohn. I've gotten to know him a little bit over the years, got to talk to him a few times, and it's always a pleasure to have him on, especially when we get to talk about the Michigan Wolverines because he is passionate about his alma mater, former Michigan quarterback. He's also a singer. We talk about all of that and much more. We'll have that interview played here in just a little bit. But before we do, we have to get into a little bit more. Welcome into the show. Make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you're watching on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, jump over to YouTube because we will be cutting that live stream over on X to make things flow a little simpler for us. And then also to get you over here to hit that like and hit that subscribe on YouTube for us. But jump over to YouTube so you can watch the entirety of this show. Of course, David Cohn going to have our interview play here in just a moment as well. And we're going to get into so much more. But first, want to mention to everybody, if you want to help support the channel, of course, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. 2 free, easy ways. We don't require or expect you to do any more than that. I don't even expect you to do that much. I appreciate you doing that much. But if you want to help support a little bit further, become a member today. Try out our membership program. And it starts off as low as $2.99 a month. And of course, you can jump up to higher tiers if you so choose to do so. But we just ask that you become a member today. And of course, we are offering a little bit more for our members just for doing so. We're not asking this for you to you have to pay in order to get anything, but we're going to give something extra to our listeners, or to our supporters, to our members, just because that's the right thing to do. So join our membership program. That link is down in the description below. Again, it starts off as low as $2.99 a month. So please become a member today to support the channel a little bit further. Also want to let everybody know to join us live from Woodworks Distilling Company in Oklahoma City this Thursday. That's right, this Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Instead of our typical call-in show, you don't even have to call in. You just show up live, grab yourself a drink. I would say it's on the house, but I can't say that. Show up, grab yourself a drink, and enjoy food too. I assume. I haven't been there, so I can't say too much. But I do know that it looks like a beautiful venue. I've seen pictures, and I'm very excited to get down there this Thursday in Oklahoma City at the Woodworks Distilling Company in Oklahoma City. Join us there live, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. We are going to try to have a mic available for you to just jump up to the mic if you so choose and ask your questions live rather than calling in. So very exciting. It's our first of this show to have a live event like that, and we want to see our listeners. We also just like the idea of being able to broadcast it live and give a little bit of a shout out to some local businesses such as Woodworks Distilling Company. Huge thanks to them. The staff so far that I've worked with to get this all set up has been outstanding, and I can't wait to meet them and to be able to meet you guys as well. So show up show up this Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time at Woodworks Distilling Company in Oklahoma City. We'd love to see you there. Come on out. Let's get into it because it's a big week for the Oklahoma Sooners. Oklahoma takes on Michigan for the second time in history between these two storied programs, and we are going to get to much of that and get into a little bit there. But first, backing up for the Oklahoma Sooners, I'm not going to get too much into it because we've already done a bunch of recaps and all of that from this past weekend, but it was a good performance. And the further I dive into that performance, the happier I am with it. I'm with a lot of you guys where I think a lot of you are just concerned because you remember what happened last season, and you remember that last season we were told against Temple that Oklahoma was being vanilla on offense. They weren't showcasing everything, and then you turn out to be vanilla the rest of the year. And so that part is concerning, and I am with you guys 100% on that, and I feel you. But I do have a little bit more faith in this coaching staff, specifically with Ben Arbuckle, and I have more faith in John Mateer. From what I saw from John Mateer, I believe in the hype. I am buying into the hype. He is probably number 3 or 4 on my Heisman rankings. I'll put that out for you guys. My Heisman rankings right now, in no particular order, above John Mateer, I for sure have Man, Lenore Sellers is probably number one. The way that he performed, he just looks really good. The eye test is what I get from Lenore Sellers. Not really. He had amazing stats too, but the eye test sells me on Lenore Sellers, pun not intended. Lenore Sellers, number one. I will go in particular order. Gus Gus Meyer. Garrett Nussmeyer, if I can get that one out right. Garrett Nussmeyer is probably number two. There's a few guys that I could probably put above John Mateer, but I'm thinking number three right now. I mean, there's probably other players. I'm just thinking quarterbacks. So number three quarterback in the nation right now. In terms of Heisman, I'd really have to dive into it. That was kind of unplanned. I wasn't planning on giving my Heisman rankings, but top three quarterbacks in the nation from what I saw. I might be missing a quarterback out there, so apologies. I'm willing to change that up if there's somebody else that needs to be put above John Mateer there, and I will try not to be biased with that. But I really was extremely impressed and probably overly impressed with John Mateer overall. There was some nitpicking that we could do there. He did miss some reads. He did miss some throws. The interception is definitely one that we don't want to see there, but you know what? It was overall, he was above 80% on the night with 35 passes. You got to be excited about that. So very happy with that. That's why I feel a little bit more confident in Oklahoma going forward, is because of John Mateer mainly. Same for Michigan. I think Michigan should also feel more confident moving forward, because I think, and we'll get to that, but I think that Bryce Underwood outperformed himself. When you look at the hype around, we're Oklahoma fans, so let's dog on Texas, because why not? I guess I'm not really about that, but I'll do it here. And I'm not really dogging on Texas, but the hype around Arch Manning. First of all, I don't really like all of the dogging on Arch Manning for it, because he didn't ask to be hyped up. He didn't ask for the media to be talking about him. He didn't ask for any of that. So that's why I don't like harping on the kid. It was his first big time game, and there have been plenty of other quarterbacks that have done far worse than what he did in his first true road start there in a hostile environment. I know I've said things about Ohio State's environment, but it's still hostile. I'm not saying that Ohio State's a bad environment. It's just underwhelming to me, because I think I hyped it up more than I probably should have, honestly. So I will give Ohio State a little bit of a slack there. But let's compare. Going back to my original point, let's compare Bryce Underwood, and we're going to get to more of him in just a moment, but Bryce Underwood to Arch Manning this past weekend. Arch Manning, all the hype around him, and I think even more hype than Bryce Underwood. From Michigan fans or from Michigan media, Bryce Underwood had a ton of hype. I would say Bryce Underwood lived up to that hype in many, many regards. And because of how I know how to grade young players coming in for their first start, I honestly think he performed better than what I would have expected for Bryce Underwood. So kudos to him. I think Michigan has a bright future with him behind the center. And so that's my biggest concern for Oklahoma. And I'll get to more of that, but he was very good. And I'm going off topic here, but that not really off topic, as we're going to get to it, but going off script here. And I do think Bryce Underwood performed really well this weekend, and they have just as much to be hyped up and amped up about this upcoming matchup against Oklahoma because of his performance as Oklahoma does going into this matchup because of John Mateer's performance. That's my opinion. Take it or leave it. But anyways, what else was big? You know what? The defense. I think the defense, they only allowed 153 yards, something like that, just over 150 yards of total offense, shut down the pass game. And this is an Illinois State team. I'm not going to hype them up to be anything special. I believe that Oklahoma still, regardless of how they performed, I think Oklahoma should have won this by 40 plus points. And I came on the air and said that. I still hold true to that. And I'm still bummed that they didn't, because I feel like we have higher expectations as fans. But Illinois State, to give credit where credit is due, they are a good FCS opponent. Still nothing compared to Oklahoma, and they should have dominated Illinois State. But they are an offensive identity team. And the fact that Oklahoma held them to 150, just over 150 yards, is impressive for the defense. I wish 100 and some of that yardage wasn't, I think 130 some yards wasn't rushing yards. But you know what? Overall, the defense did not allow any points. The 3 points was really because of the interception, and I don't count that on the defense. So overall, pretty happy with the defense. I give the defense like a B plus because I want a turnover, at least one turnover there against an FCS opponent. Last year against Temple, how many were there against Temple, man? I felt like it was turnover galore against Temple. So, yeah, I expect more turnovers. I definitely expect more going into the season and going further into the season. So, offense, I think I'll give offense overall, man, I don't know. I'm having a struggle here because I really see a lot of really good things from the offense. If you dive into the tape and dive down into it, I did put some. I put a couple of clips from our film session, Sunday film session. Feel free to go back and watch those. I did put some of them out there for everyone. If you're a member, you get to watch the entirety of that and see a lot more breakdown. If you dive down into individuals and see how individuals performed, all over the field on both sides, but specifically on offense, there are some big time playmakers that you can feel very good about. And I'll get to one of them in a moment. I mean, I'll start listing them off with John Mateer, dog. Torrey Blaylock, dog, but probably won't be playing this week from what I understand. Probably not playing this week. I didn't catch what Brent Venables said. I didn't get to go and watch that. I didn't get to see what he said at Rudy's last night. So, or was that tonight? Anyways, I'm curious to see where all that's going. From what I understand, that wasn't too major, but I didn't look into it before coming into tonight. So Torrey Blaylock, anyways, dog. Look at Keontez Lewis. I'm going to talk more about him in just a moment. Look at what Dion Burks did. Look at what Jaren Kanak did. All right, because he started off with a big reception, very exciting, and I think he just got ahead of himself. He was in the moment, lost the ball. Look at how he turned around, because then he ended up having a 40-some yard reception later on in the game, which was really close to scoring, and I so wanted him to get that into the end zone. But he had a huge reception getting down there, and you could tell he learned from his mistake, and he held onto that ball very tight. So I don't think that's going to be a typical thing that we would maybe compare to Taylor Tatum, where that could be a recurring issue. I don't think that's the case with Jaren Kanak, and so I'm very excited for him. I think we got a dog in tight end that could be a dangerous weapon at tight end against linebackers. And I know I've heard plenty of others mention that as well. I'm going to go ahead and make a bold prediction, especially if he were to keep on the trajectory that he did this past weekend. I think Jaren Kanak is a tight end that starts being mentioned nationally, and when teams talk about Oklahoma and some of the weapons that they've got, they start to talk about Jaren Kanak. I do feel that much from him, specifically in what he did last Saturday. So very excited about him. All over the place, man. I don't know. I'm sure I'm missing some. Jacob Jordan had a big reception. Isaiah Satania, that dude's got some wheels. Yeah, I think you've got real playmakers on Oklahoma's offense this year that we just didn't have last year, that we just didn't see last year. I'm not going to say that we didn't have them because they were there. They just weren't ready. And so we didn't see it. You've got that this year. So I see that potential. Now, will it come to fruition and will it actually happen? That's a totally different thing. And we know that as Oklahoma fans. But I see a lot of good things. And so anyways, going forward, I want to pull out my Sooner Spotlight Player of the Week. We actually posted about this on social media. Follow Oklahoma VOCFB. I believe it's just at Oklahoma VOCFB. Follow us on social media. I know for sure we're active on Instagram now. We're active on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. So follow us over there on those if you would, just to help support the channel a little bit more and support the growth of what we're doing here at Oklahoma at the Voice of College Football. But we posted a graphic to show Keontez Lewis as our player of the week. And we really wanted, so Chad and Tierney and I were the ones voting on this, and we really wanted to put Jaren Kanak in there. We wanted to so bad because he deserves it. So it was between Jaren Kanak, John Mateer, and Keontez Lewis were our final three. I just don't think anybody stood out and popped off the paper to me on defense. Although if I were to pick a defensive player, it was either Cortland Guillory, because I think he played well. He played extremely well for his first start ever. And his only downside was a pass interference that I didn't quite agree with. But I can understand why it was called. I'm not totally siding against the refs there. So that was the only downside from Cortland Guillory. And then Gentry Williams, to see him back out there, see him playing and performing at a high level. Very excited to see him. And so those would have been the two defensive players that were in our top 5, but it came down to John Mateer, Keontez Lewis, and Jaron Kanik. And we really wanted to give it to Jaron Kanik. John Mateer deserved it too. But again, it came down to both of those guys had a turnover. We had the interception, which you have to put on John Mateer. It was halfway on him, and I did break that down in our Sooner film room, Sooner Sunday film room. So go check that out if you're a full member. If you're a member, you can see the full edition of that. But anyways, it came down to those two, and we said they both had a turnover on their record, so we're going to give it to Keontez Lewis. Plus, when you actually look at Keontez Lewis's stats, with 9 receptions, 119 yards, that's 13.2 yards average. He had an amazing game and a potential for even more if there wasn't a pass interference with the one-handed snag that he had, I believe, on the left side of the field. Beautiful catch there. It was between him and Deion Burks for the catch of the game. I'm going to give it to Deion Burks. I think that's an easy one for me, although it was 2 very good receptions. But anyways, Keontez Lewis was our Sooner Spotlight Player of the Week. And I forgot this on the stat line. 2 touchdowns in his Oklahoma Sooners debut. I'm so happy for this guy. I'm so happy that he had the breakout that he did, because I've been mentioning him as the guy that not enough people are talking about, and I think he's going to have a breakout game. I did not expect for it to be game 1, but it makes sense because of guys like the Gibsons being out. So you know what? I am so happy for Keontez Lewis. I'm excited to see what he brings in the future, because once you get, I don't know if Jaden's coming back this season. I'm going to be honest with you. I just have a feeling that he's not. But if you get Javonte Gibson back in and he becomes the key wide receiver, Keontez Lewis is going to be that guy that when guys are covered up, like Isaiah Satania is covered up, or Deion Burks is covered up, and then you've got Javonte Gibson covered up, Keontez Lewis is going to find his way open. Not only that, but the stat that doesn't get put on the stat sheet, he was phenomenal at blocking. He was one of the top blockers for run blocking. Better, I think he had a better overall, based on PFF's grading system, he had a better run blocking grade than most of our offensive linemen. So Keontez Lewis, I'm sure you're not going to watch this and I hope you're not, honestly, just because I would love to have you watching our content, but I want you to be zoned in and dialed in, ready to go. But if you do see this, Keontez Lewis, congratulations on an outstanding debut, and I'm very excited for what I can see is in his future as an Oklahoma wide receiver. We're going to go on and mention a big-time recruit for Oklahoma. But before we do, want to mention for everyone watching on X, if you were watching on the X live stream, jump over to YouTube real quick. Just search Oklahoma VOCFB, all one word, and it should pop up for you. Oklahoma VOCFB. Search that on YouTube. If you're not already subscribed, subscribe to us over there real quick. Hit that like button, and we'll see you over on YouTube, because we are cutting that X live stream right now. All right. So everyone watching on YouTube, again, thank you so much for tuning in on YouTube. Jump in that live chat. I will try to get to the live chat tonight whenever I find it to be fitting. And anyways, let's dive into it real quick, because the Oklahoma Sooners had a pretty big commit. I know that the narrative is going to be 3-star U. I know it. I know that's going to be the narrative. But again, as I say every time, you can miss me with that. Go back and watch the tape. There's a reason why players get offered, 3-star players get offered by many schools. And Xavier, I'm just going to call him ZZ. Let's see. Okwufuluze. I'm pretty sure I said that pretty close. I'll get Parker Thune to correct me on that and tell me where I said it wrong. But I'm just going to call him Xavier or ZZ. He goes by ZZ. Anyways, he waited a long time for Oklahoma to offer. He's an in-state player. It's now Oklahoma's first in-state player. That alone should be big for Oklahoma. We're not going in a complete cycle without getting somebody in our backyard, because for whatever reason, that's really important to Oklahoma fans, and I get it. But I also don't get it at the same time. If you get a good recruiting class and you're happy with the guys you get, who cares where they're from? But ultimately, happy that Oklahoma got a guy from their backyard in ZZ. But anyways, Emmett Jones, he finally offered to ZZ and actually invited him, I believe. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong because I did not look this up, but I believe he came and visited OU on game day this past weekend. And him coming in person, yeah, I did have that in my notes. Okay, so I'm not just dreaming that. He did come in person, and he even mentioned over to OU Insider. Go check out OU Insider, some of the best scoop in the business if you're looking for Oklahoma scoop. Inside scoop. But anyways, ZZ said that he prayed for an offer from Oklahoma when he went for it just before going to his game day visit against Oklahoma. And he promised himself and in his prayer that he would be committing if OU offered. And sure enough, Emmett Jones finally called him with that Oklahoma scholarship offer, and he committed immediately. So it was not even in question. He wanted to come to Oklahoma. Plus, his family, his parents love the school. His parents kind of emphasize so much with all of the support that Oklahoma gets and everything that just seems to make sense for Oklahoma. And so, it was an answered prayer for him. He wanted it to come here if it was God's will, he said. And so he's also very excited. He has a lot of trust in this coaching staff, and he feels like it's the right place to grow on and off the field, to develop into a better player, to develop into a better man. And I think Oklahoma fans that know enough about this staff believe that to be true for him as well. Of course, him coming to that 35-3 win over Illinois State was big for him. He was really impressed by John Mateer and the play that he had with 392 yards, 4 touchdowns. And, he was excited about being a wide receiver in this type of scheme, in this type of passing game, this layout for wide receivers. And go back and look at it too. I think we counted 9 different receivers caught the ball. Somebody receiving the ball, whether it was a running back or a receiver or tight end. 9 different guys caught the ball on Saturday. So obviously that's a big thing. And he also thinks he feels like he fits in well with that type of a system, especially with OU, and doesn't have as many wide receivers with some kind of a big size. He's 6'4", 198 pounds. You pack on a little bit of good muscle on him, and this is a huge dude, and this is big for a wide receiver. You want that type of wide receiver, especially for going to the back corner of the end zone over a guy like, nope, not cutting him down, but a guy like Eli Bowen. Go over the top of him. Even Cortland Guillory, I don't have his measurables on hand, but that's another thing. So, I think that there's a lot with getting this guy in as a wide receiver that I know 3-star U, it's going to come out there. There's going to be a lot about that, but trust me, I do think that this was a good one. And, there was plenty of other Power 4 programs offering ZZ. So I'm not worried about that. If there's plenty of other Power 4 programs offering, they obviously see very similar to what Oklahoma's seeing in this kid. So, going back to his junior season, he had 46 catches, 901 yards, 9 touchdowns, and so far in his senior season opener, he had 11 catches for 236 yards and 3 touchdowns. That is stupid numbers to be putting up. I don't care who you are. That is incredible. And so that's obviously very big for Oklahoma. He wants to develop at Oklahoma. He wants to get better. And you know what? He's staying close to home too. So big time pickup for Oklahoma, regardless of what people are going to say about 3-star U. Very excited for Oklahoma getting into it. But I'm going to jump into my interview with David Cohn. I don't know if you call it an interview, but a preview of the Oklahoma-Michigan matchup. I'm going to throw it up on screen. Hopefully everybody hears it well. Please throw it in the comments if you don't hear it, and I'll make sure to tune it around because I know I had some issues getting this uploaded here tonight. So here it is, David Cohn. All right, Oklahoma fans, welcome in. I've got a very special guest here with me to preview the Oklahoma-Michigan matchup here this weekend in Norman, the second time ever that the two teams are facing off. I've got former Michigan quarterback, so yes, he's an enemy, but we're going to talk with David Cohn. Also has a new album out as well, so congratulations on your new album, The Richest Man in Town, right?
Yes, sir. Richest Man in Town, 12-song album produced by Dolly Parton's producer, Mr. Kent Wells. I appreciate you bringing it up. Anyone who loves country music or Americana music, Southern rock, please go check it out. And Josh, I can't thank you enough for having me, man. I'm so excited for this football game.
Yeah, it's a big one for both teams, and I think it's going to finally tell but it's going to tell both sides a lot about where their squad matches up. And I know you and I would probably agree that the early matchups are better. Just get this out of the way. Let's not wait till conference play. Let's figure out what this team is all about before we get into all that. So that I'm not sitting here hoping that we're good in conference play. I think Oklahoma dealt with that last year where man, I don't know, we're winning, but how much does that mean for us in the conference play? But how do you feel about maybe the easier games, kind of those tune-up games first, maybe your first game, kind of get the rust off and then jumping into it? Or would you prefer like what maybe Ohio State, Texas, or LSU Clemson did and just jumping right in very first game of the season?
Well, as a college football fan, I don't want to see these two programs play just so I can see early in the season how good they are. I want to see these two programs play because they're two of the best programs in the history of the sport. Top 10 for sure, maybe even top 5. I have so much respect for Oklahoma and the entire fan base. These are the type of matchups that you want to see, and that's regardless of the year. That's regardless of the situation. They could both be the bottom of the barrel in college football that particular year. Everyone is going to tune in to watch Michigan play Oklahoma, especially when it's at one of these stadiums like we're going to see a matchup in Norman. Then on top of that, you add in the fact that last year, both very mediocre football teams, but on the rise, did well in the transfer portal for Oklahoma. Michigan signs the highest rated recruit they ever have in Bryce Underwood. Both programs on the rise for 2025. And then on top of that, you add in the fact that Oklahoma is Sharon Moore's alma mater. Like, to me, it doesn't really get more interesting than this unless for some reason they were, matching up in the college football playoff. Obviously, the expanded playoff has changed the circumstance around the landscape of college football. But for week 2, Michigan going on the road, like you said, this is the second meeting. And yeah, I'm not going to lie, man. I'm hoping my Wolverines can even up that series because Oklahoma got us in the first one.
Yeah, and the first one was a pretty big matchup as well for that national championship run and everything there. So, first going on to the beginning, like you mentioned last season, for both teams, I would say disaster. Both teams expect more out of their programs. Both teams expect to be national championship contenders, at least playoff contenders, and neither of them were even close. So, first, I want to start off on Oklahoma's side of the ball from an outsider's perspective. What were your first impressions of Oklahoma going into this new regime of Ben Arbuckle, John Mateer, Jaden Ott obviously didn't play, but what was your first impression of Oklahoma coming out of the gates? Of course, only 35-3. You would have expected more fireworks, but it seemed like they had everything under control, worked all the rust off. What were those impressions for Oklahoma?
Well, I want to take a moment to go back even beyond this week 1 performance because, Oklahoma, there was so much getting talked about. I mean, we were at SEC Media Days in, 21? The second the announcement is that Texas and Oklahoma are going to join the SEC. And the conversation immediately became, how will these programs transition over into the premier conference of college football and which one will have a leg up? And, we at Crane and Company, we said, well, Texas, because Steve Sarkisian got to knock off some of that rust taking his lumps in the last few years of the Big 12, whereas Brent Venables coming over into the SEC was still building a lot of that foundation, particularly on the defensive side of the ball post Lincoln Riley. And no, it hasn't been pretty. It was not pretty last year, but when you talk about being able to bring in Arbuckle and the John Mateer combo, you bring in the OC and the quarterback, I don't think it can be overstated what the expectation should be for Oklahoma. Now, can John Mateer deliver week in and week out in the SEC the way he did at Washington State? A lot of traditional Southeastern Conference fans say no, he better wake up. We had Matt Moscona on our show today, said no, I'm not buying into this stock. He's going to struggle in the SEC. And while Cam Ward, who also transferred from Washington State, didn't transfer into the SEC, I think everyone would unanimously say he did pretty well at Miami, and there was a reason he was the number 1 overall pick. So I have really high expectations for John Mateer in this Oklahoma offense. I'm not sure what to make of Jaden Ott, carrying the ball one time for -3 yards. I was really excited that he came over from Cal. I don't know if there was, he was being punished for something, or maybe they were just saving him from that injury he had in fall camp, just saving him for the Michigan game. But when we talked with Jim Nagy a couple weeks ago, the general manager over there at Oklahoma, he said Jaden Ott, before that he got banged up there in fall camp, he was looking great and he was moving moving great. So I feel really good about this Oklahoma offense. You asked about week one. Look, you did what you were supposed to do. And similar on the Michigan side, opening up against New Mexico, you did what you were supposed to do. I don't think either program showed a lot. I think they were saving up a lot. I know we're going to get into the Bryce Underwood in the Michigan section, but honestly, the biggest question mark I had for Michigan coming out of week one was the defense, very similar to how this defense under Wink Martindale started a year ago. I'll continue to say, I was saying it on our preview show, which you should check out on our YouTube channel at Crane and Company. If Michigan plays defense like they did last week in week one, I think John Mateer and the Oklahoma offense will feast. If Michigan plays defense under Wink Martindale the way they did towards the end of last season when they held the Buckeyes to 10 points and they beat Alabama in the bowl game, then I like Michigan's opportunity and chance to go in and grab a win in Norman.
Yeah, yeah, and to the point of Jaden Ott, that was one I agree with you. I don't understand why they did it the way they did. They put him in late in the game for one rush, and it didn't work out. But it was, if you look at how Oklahoma's done everything really this entire offseason, it's been very cautious, wrap everybody up in bubble tape and bubble wrap and tape them up real tight. And that's why he didn't play in week one. It's not that he didn't earn that starter's role. They wanted to see first what Torrey Blaylock is made of, and he came out and looked really well in that game, even though he didn't get a whole lot of opportunity. And the offensive line definitely could improve on run blocking. But again, another thing that I don't agree with what the team did there, what the coaching staff did there, they didn't put all of their starters in, again, keeping them in that bubble wrap and trying to keep them healthy. But
and maybe you don't need him. I mean, this was the point that Blaine, my co-host Blaine Crane, was making, is like, look, maybe there's a reason that Jaden Ott isn't playing a lot of snaps, like maybe Oklahoma just really loves the other backs that they have. I'm interested to see this zone scheme with John Mateer. How often is he truly going to read it? How frequently are they going to go to this run pass option? Because I think that's where they can hurt Michigan the most, is his ability to hand off when that's the right read, to keep it on zone read when that's the correct read, or to keep it on zone read and then hit the RPO slants behind linebackers who are scraping down. If he can really do that consistently, then they're not only going to beat Michigan, but he's going to have success throughout the course of this SEC schedule.
Yeah, and going over to Michigan now, of course, again, another performance that I think you would have expected more out of Michigan, but it's New Mexico. They're known for their upsets, and I don't think Michigan looked bad. They looked in control the entire game. They had some things that they were working out and working that rust off. I think Michigan looked pretty well. What did you take from Michigan in week one and what you saw on the field?
I personally wasn't expecting a lot more from Michigan. This was a standard Michigan opening. Like, Michigan's not trying to win football games by 60 points. There are a lot of teams across the country that's what they're trying to do. Michigan is just fine beating you by 17 points if they can play a lot of players, get some information, get some reps on guys, and this was a staple under Jim Harbaugh. I can't tell you how many times they've opened the season with that exact same score, 34-17 over an opponent, because they wanted to play a lot of guys. Here's what I was more interested in. The entire Michigan fan base has been talking about Bryce Underwood is going to be a Heisman Trophy winning national championship quarterback his freshman year as an 18-year-old, from the very day he flipped his commitment from LSU. I have come in a lot more reserved because I had to live this, right? I know how hard it is to play quarterback in the Big Ten at the University of Michigan. The kid just turned 18 years old during fall camp. So I came in with more reservations. Can he at least be an upgrade from last season? Can he at least, transition into this game manager sort of role? And let's hope that the defense is as good as we think it could be at Michigan. And let's hope that Justice Haynes and the running game can be as dynamic as it has been for Michigan under Jim Harbaugh. That would at least be an improvement, and with Michigan's schedule, could potentially get you in the college football playoff. But I will say this, even though they opened with New Mexico, okay, and that is not the juggernaut of all opponents, I was blown away with Bryce Underwood's performance. His command over the game, record-breaking performance in week one, 21 of 31, 251 yards passing, a touchdown, no interceptions. He didn't press at any point. He showed an ability to layer the football with touch, which I didn't think he did in Michigan's spring game. Everything was a fastball. Again, take that for what it's worth. Yes, that's against New Mexico, but that performance would be better than every single quarterback performance a year ago for Michigan, and they went 8-5 and beat the eventual national champs, and they beat Alabama. So can he do it on the road in a raucous environment in Norman, Oklahoma, against this blue blood program of Oklahoma with a defensive head coach in Brent Venables who needs this showing, who needs this win, and who needs this season? The entire world is going to be watching to see if he can deliver, but I was very impressed with the way Bryce Underwood ran that offense, and on top of how he played, Michigan rushed for 200 yards. So that's a great showing in my opinion.
Yeah, and I was very impressed too. Just right out of the gate, the way that he came out on the field showed excitement, showed poise. He brings about an aura about himself that I don't think I have ever seen a quarterback since yourself, stepping out there. But no, I think
Thank you.
it really was an aura.
I was thinking about this. I'm from South Georgia, got an opportunity to play quarterback at the University of Michigan, and I'm maybe the best quarterback to come out of my hometown, certainly one of the best quarterbacks to come out of my hometown. Was very fortunate to go to Michigan, and I just think the best that I ever was, whatever period of time that was, I still couldn't have accomplished what Bryce Underwood did in one game as a true freshman. It really does put it in perspective, because that position is so hard, and that league is so good, and the expectations are so high. And look, there's a reason that he's starting as a true freshman. There's a reason that you paid so much NIL money to flip him from LSU. At the same time, he's going to make mistakes. He's probably going to make mistakes this weekend at Oklahoma, but I just think that you saw a glimpse of what could be with his ability to get out of trouble when he needs to, his ability to make the correct reads. And again, this roster that he has around him, I still, a question mark is still out for me at wide receiver. I think that Michigan has some playmakers. They need to really step up and prove that they can get separation against great defenses, and that they can catch contested balls, all of that you want to see from every team, from every wide receiver group in the country. But Michigan, make no mistake, they want to run the football first, and then they want to complement that run game with a quarterback who can play action and make great decisions down the field. I think that's what Michigan has in Bryce Underwood, despite some of the freshman mistakes that he will inevitably make this season.
Yeah, and I really liked what I saw from him as well. Like you mentioned, I think he overperformed what I would have expected out of, 18, 19 years old? I would not have expected him to come out there that poised, and then bring that good of a performance week one, in a big time environment, in Ann Arbor, in the Big House. Very impressive there. Going over this game in week two with Oklahoma, what concerns do you have for Michigan against Oklahoma? Is there any mismatches that you think Oklahoma might lean a little heavier, and that you're a little concerned there? Or is there anything maybe that Michigan, you just felt like you didn't see the top performers perform the way that they should have over there, and that they're going to have to up their game when they come to Norman?
Well, look, if on Michigan on offense with Oklahoma on defense, if Oklahoma makes a commitment to stop the run game, which I would hope that Michigan could run the football effectively on Oklahoma, even if Oklahoma stacks the box and makes a commitment to stop the run game. But let's just say they overcommit and they say, we're not going to allow Michigan to run the football. Let's at least make the 18-year-old kid beat us through the air. If they do that and Bryce just can't do it because he makes mistakes, or Michigan's not elite enough at skill positions on the perimeter to be able to beat Oklahoma, then that is what it is, and Michigan's going to have to deal with that throughout the season. I'm a little bit more concerned with the other side of it. I mean, we've been talking about how dynamic John Mateer is, and he brings his offensive coordinator over, and honestly, I think there are concerns on the defensive side of the ball. Now, again, I will repeat that I think Wink Martindale was trying to play a lot of guys last week for a reason. Hey, we're opening up with New Mexico. This is a game that we should win no matter how many guys we play. Let's at least see what they have. Let's get a lot of guys some reps, a lot of guys some snaps. Mason Graham's not there anymore. Kenneth Grant's not there anymore. Those are first-round picks. They really helped stifle opponent run games a year ago and forced opponents to throw the football through the air. The Buckeyes didn't have success doing that. Steve Sarkisian in Texas, they did have success doing that. So I'm a little bit worried that maybe Michigan on defense is just starting slow once again, and that Oklahoma can find similar success especially against Michigan's zone coverages, where these linebackers are in space. I'm a little bit worried that Oklahoma can find that sort of success the way that Steve Sarkisian in Texas was able to a year ago. But I'll tell you one other thing that I'm really disappointed in is Jayshon Barnum will be out for the first half of this game because of a targeting call against him in the New Mexico game. And I really want to say that while Oklahoma fans may be happy about that because you keep a really good player off the field for the first half, I think that it's college football needs new leadership. I can't tell from one week to the next what targeting is, and it's getting very, very frustrating. And this is a way that the NFL beats college football in many respects. I prefer college football in so many ways to the NFL, but this is one area where when the NFL gets something wrong or they try something or they tinker and it's not right, the leadership there, Roger Goodell and the owners, they move off of it. College football needs to do something similar with this targeting rule. And to be honest with you, I would be just as upset about it if it were Oklahoma's best defender who's not going to play in the first half, because again, I love college football more than I just love Michigan football. And I want to see the best football players out there. When a guy goes after a quarterback and he does what he's coached to do, he shouldn't have to be suspended, not only get removed from that game, but certainly shouldn't have to miss part of the next football game.
Yeah, and I think I can speak for most Oklahoma fans from what I've seen on social media. My first response to that was, technically by this new rule, yeah, he did make head-to-head contact, but I hate it. Because what you saw there was a tackle where he wrapped a guy up.
Well,
the contact of the heads.
But I don't want to interrupt you, but I just have to stop on the helmet-to-helmet contact. I saw it last night in the TCU versus North Carolina game. The helmets collided. So it's not just helmet to helmet. They go a step further and say, oh, well, what was the indicator? Quote, what's the indicator that created the helmet contact? You've already convoluted the situation. You've lost me. It used to be about launching your helmet as a defender into a wide receiver who's over the middle. If it's just about helmet to helmet contact, every single running back rushing downhill through the hole would get thrown out of a game. If it's just about crown of the helmet, again, every single running back or linebacker would get thrown out of a game if it's crown of the helmet. The helmet's touching clearly does not automatically remove you from a game, because I didn't see it last night in TCU versus North Carolina. So I can't keep up with it from one week to the next. But even if that's what we're going to say, is that that's helmet to helmet contact, or there's an indicator, or you launched, or it's crown of the helmet, then penalize the guys. It's also really dangerous to grab someone's face mask. What happens when you do it? You get a flag, you get penalized. Make the penalty egregious if you need, but don't kick football players out of the game for playing hard and doing what they're coached to do. Kick them out of the game and suspend them for the next if they're fighting opponents or if they hit a referee. That's when you kick a kid out of a game.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. And I think with most Oklahoma fans, from the response that I've seen, is, man, this sucks, because we want to see, like you mentioned, I want to see that Oklahoma is good enough to beat Michigan at their best, because that tells me a lot more about the future of this team and how much I can expect from this team, rather than, going in there and maybe Oklahoma gets out to an early lead in the first half, and that's what wins the game because they didn't have a star linebacker. And that's just pathetic. And to your point too, kicking a player out of the game at all is ridiculous for a penalty. But we don't do that for any other penalty. Like you mentioned, even a face mask is an egregious one, and that's more intentional and looks way more intentional than a helmet-to-helmet contact. But I agree with you. I think the targeting rule is just ridiculous, and it's confusing too.
It's unfortunate, but if you're Michigan, no excuses, embrace adversity. And if you're Oklahoma, hey, if you beat Michigan and that ends up being a reason why, who cares, man? Take the win, move on. Your schedule's so tough. Brent Venables needs a win like that no one's going to look back at that game, 3 months from now and say, well, we should discount Oklahoma's win because they didn't have one of their great players from Michigan. If you're able to beat Michigan any way you can, take that win, move forward, use the momentum in SEC play, and, see if you can win the conference or at least make the college football playoff.
So what you're saying is just give him a break, all right? Give him some sort of break. But going forward real quick, last thing, I know you threw out the prediction, I believe, on your guys' preview show, and I will have the link of that down in the description below, so you can see more from Jake and Blaine and some of their comments on the game as well. But what is your overall prediction going into week 2? Again, big time matchup, a beautiful matchup. It's going to be a beautiful kind of fall night. It should be pretty nice for some Oklahoma folks, brisk. It'll be around 75 degrees. What's your prediction here for Oklahoma versus Michigan?
Well, preseason, obviously, this is one of the games we talked about most during the season. On Oklahoma's schedule right here, you can see a check mark by Michigan, right? A check mark for them just because of what we've talked about, not just the transfer portal success Oklahoma had, but also retaining many of their own players. And Bryce Underwood, true freshman, was he going to win the job? He's going to go on the road to Norman, Oklahoma. Oklahoma is the correct pick for so many reasons, which is exactly what I said about Clemson hosting LSU. It's the correct pick for many reasons. LSU has to prove it to us. Well, LSU did prove it in that game, and they went on the road and got a win. And yeah, that's why I flipped this week in our preview based off what I saw from Bryce Underwood, his ability to remain poised. I like Michigan chances to go in and get a win. Obviously, I am biased. I want Michigan to win the football game. I think Oklahoma's in a really good position right now. Again, to me, it comes down to Michigan's defense. If Michigan plays defense the way they did a week ago, then Oklahoma will win this game and could win it handily. If Michigan plays defense like they did towards the end of last season, even at some points when Will Johnson wasn't there and Mason Graham wasn't on the field and Kenneth Grant was on the field. Remember, they put together some spectacular defensive performances even when those first-round picks weren't on the field. If Wink Martindale's able to do that, then I really like Michigan chances going in. And I also will say I think no matter whoever wins, especially if it's Michigan, really positions themselves nicely to make the college football playoff because Michigan's schedule this year is really just not that difficult. Let's be honest. If Oklahoma is able to win this game, like they get that momentum I was talking about moving into SEC play, but even the loser of this game is not out of any sort of, postseason opportunities because I think that both of these programs are on the rise this year. I think both programs are going to win a lot of football games and the loser will immediately become a fan of the other team to keep winning games. So it makes this game look good in the committee's eyes and in the college football playoff committee's eyes.
Yeah, and I think it's definitely going to be a close one. It's going to be a fun one. But David, I appreciate you jumping on. Let my listeners know where they can find all your great work.
Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Go over to Crane & Company. Watch all of the content we have coming out here. Week 1 was awesome. We got some previews moving into week 2. You can follow me on social media, X and Instagram and TikTok. That's all David Adam Cohn. And thank you for mentioning the album. Yeah, I have a new country music album out. It's called Richest Man in Town. 12 songs on there. Songs like I Used to Drink, Life Like Mine, The Ballad of Billy Spades at Devil's Creek. If you love country music, Southern rock, Americana music, please go find it on iTunes, Spotify, Apple, YouTube, anywhere you traditionally get your music.
Yeah, it's great stuff. But again, David, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Again, a huge thanks to David Cohn for taking some time out. That was earlier today. So, yes, that was a pre-recording that I was able to play for you guys. But huge thanks to him. Him and Jake both have been really awesome from Crane & Company. Since I first started any kind of podcasting, I think I had maybe 4. I had single digits in followers, at least on my first podcast that I had ever done. And Jake jumped on and did an episode with me. It wasn't until I mean we probably had like maybe 100, somewhere around 100, and David jumped on to preview I think a Michigan game as well. And so huge thanks to those guys. They're awesome. Go check out Crane & Company. If you don't know who they are, go check them out. They pump out a lot of content. So if you're a college football fan in general, you're going to love what they have over there. And I know Jake may be joining the show in the future as well. So he's great to have on. Great guest. Huge thanks to David. And if you're any kind of music fan, go check out his music because I really do think he's almost got like, I was trying to think, kind of like a John Mellencamp mixed with Johnny Cash on some of his songs. He's got others that are, he's just got all of his music are really good at telling stories. And so he's he did a great job and got a great team behind him to produce this album. So go check that out. Richest Man in Town by David Cohn. That's his album. So go check that out. That link is in the description for Spotify. Of course, if you listen on Apple Music or YouTube, wherever, go check it out. It's awesome stuff. So huge thanks to David for previewing. I'm going to get into my own kind of preview of Michigan, but I'm not going to get too far because, again, everybody who's watching, if you live in the Oklahoma City area, I want you to come out and join us. Chad Smith, Tierney Smith, the Sooner Smiths, and then also myself. We'll be joined by a special guest with Chris Phillips from SEC Unfiltered. He'll be there with us as well. We're going to be live from the Woodworks Distilling Company in Oklahoma City. So go check us out there live on this Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. So come out and join us for an entirety of everything that we can possibly get to in breaking down and previewing this big matchup for Oklahoma, one of the biggest matchups in Norman in a long time. So come out and support us. Come out and check us out there at Woodworks Distilling Company in Oklahoma City this Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Looking forward to seeing some of our audience there at Woodworks Distilling Company at 7 p.m. on Thursday. And there will be more to come, I'm sure. So especially if you guys show up and show out, there will be plenty more to come. Let's get into a little bit of breaking down what we saw from Michigan this past week. Like I said, I want to hold off on some of the preview stuff until this Thursday when we really dive into it and we've got more to get into. But I want to first start off by the obvious one that I think gives Michigan fans some hope, and that is Bryce Underwood. Like David mentioned, like I've mentioned, he really does show so much poise in that first matchup, and he gives Michigan hope for a much better season. I really can't remember a quarterback. I mean, why am I drawing a blank? Denard Robinson. That is probably the last quarterback that I can think of with this much, this high of a ceiling, I guess. He might even, I hate to make any kind of comparisons. I really do. And so apologies if I'm going too far with that one for Michigan fans. But I really can't think of a Michigan quarterback with this type of this high of a ceiling and this type of poise, this aura that he produces, that he lets off when he steps on the field. So that was my first instinct, my first reaction from him when he came out, hopping around. He was pumped up. He was excited. He looked like he was ready for that moment rather than intimidated by it. So that was my first impression from him. And then it lived up to it because, again, he may not have had John Mateer's numbers, but for one, I think he went against probably a little bit tougher opponent. And then on top of that, I mean, he had a really solid performance, especially for a freshman. So coming out there, 67.7% completion percentage, 251 yards, 8-yard average, just over 8-yard average, and he had a touchdown on the day. So again, not John Mateer's numbers, but he didn't have to because Michigan ran the ball extremely well. And I didn't get the entirety of Michigan's rushing yards pulled up and put on my stats. So poor planning by me, but I can pull them up real quick because it really was a stellar performance on the ground for Michigan. And that's really what worries me about Oklahoma coming into this matchup is the fact that Oklahoma's rushing was not very well. And for Michigan, they were able to put up 200 yards on the ground. That's a really good game. I mean, it's an okay game to put 100 yards for a team. You know, if you could put 100 to 150, that's kind of expected. That's what you kind of want to get to. 100 yards is expected. 150 is kind of what you're aiming for. Anything over that, when you can get up to that 200-yard mark, that's a solid performance from your offensive line, from your running backs. And starting off with Samaj Morgan, he got off to a hot start early in the game, but he did have that muff punt that could have been big for New Mexico, could have turned it over. He was very lucky to cover it up and get it back somehow. Don't know how he got on top of that ball, but he did. And I do see some potential with Samaj Morgan because when he got the ball early, he got into open space. He got himself into good positioning as well. And he didn't go down very easy either. Showed a lot of shiftiness, finding holes. And yeah, I liked his performance early. I liked even more the muff. I would love to see that go in Oklahoma's favor. No, but in all seriousness, I do think if he heats up, that was the one player outside of the two others that I'll get to. Well, I brought up Bryce, and then there's another that I'll get to, that Samaj Morgan seems like I see something there. And if he heats up, he could be a big time guy, big time playmaker on offense. But I didn't get to see enough from him to say that he will heat up and that he will get going, especially against Oklahoma. I don't know that that's the case, but if he heats up, if he gets better, if he ends up performing to what I think he can and what I've seen in the past, he will be dangerous on the field. The guy that Oklahoma needs to watch out for is Justice Haynes, and I'm sure we'll talk plenty about him on Thursday when we get into our preview. But this guy is a dude. I mean, he is a dog. 159 yards on 16 carries, 3 touchdowns, included a 56-yard touchdown early in the game, and then a 59-yard run to set up a 1-yard touchdown on his 3rd touchdown of the night later in the game. So he had an absolute game, especially for game 1. That is how you draw it up. That is how you want to perform in game 1. That's a guy that Oklahoma's got to have on their radar, and absolutely will be a guy that if he's on the field, you're trying to lock him down. You're telling Kobe and Kip, make sure that this guy does not get past you. If you're telling the outside edge guys, whether it be R. Mason Thomas, Taylor Wine, Marvin Jones Jr., whoever it is on the edge, you have got to set the edge. Do not let him outside. And then, of course, your D tackles have to do their job much better than they did against Illinois State. It was just the run defense was not particularly good. I won't go as far to say it was bad. It just was not particularly good. So that has to be much better against Michigan, and especially when you've got a guy like Justice Haynes who is familiar with SEC type football, and Michigan is known for their powerhouse, just run it down your throat kind of football. And even with Sharon Moore, that identity is really not going away. Now they do have an option through Bryce Underwood that I think has not been an option for them in many, many years. Again, going back, I mean, like I said, I think going back to Denard Robinson is like the guy that I can think would live up to that kind of playmaking ability. But I think if Oklahoma can shut that run down, and particularly Justice Haynes, then I think they'll be just fine. So I'm very. Those are the 3 guys that really stood out to me on tape going back to that game. They had a very big game, all 3 of them. There were several defensive players, and we'll get to more of that on Thursday when we really preview and dive deeper into the game. But I don't want to give away too much of what we're going to preview. Again, come out and join us at Woodworks Distilling Company on Thursday. I'm going to keep on saying that until you guys get it ingrained into your head. This Thursday, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. We want you to join us, and enjoy a drink, and just come out there and enjoy the show. And then, of course, we're going to open up the mic, hopefully be able to have an option to open up the mic to where you guys can jump up to the mic and be able to ask your questions, your comments, whatever, in person. So come out and join us this Thursday, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time in Oklahoma City at Woodworks Distilling Company. Let's dive around the conference real quick, and just this may or may not interest you at all, and then I will jump to the live chats. I see a few live chats that I want to get to, but and please throw in comments, concerns, questions, all that in the live chat. I will be getting to that in just a moment. But going around the conference, just seeing what our opponents, our future opponents in the SEC, seeing who they face off against, if you want to watch them this weekend. It's going to be Texas taking on the juggernaut San Jose State. I'm sure they will definitely be rubbing in how many yards Arch Manning has in that game if he ends up having a good game. Who knows? Maybe he doesn't. But that is at 11 a.m. on ABC. I believe all this is in Central Standard Time, the way I wrote it down, because I'm in Central Standard Time and most Oklahoma fans are. Tennessee is going to take on Eastern Tennessee State. Again, another juggernaut there at 2:30 p.m. on ESPN+. Mizzou taking on Kansas. This could be more of an interesting game than I think it's going to get credit for. But, I mean, it is an interesting game. To give a little jab at Parker Ainsworth, it is not as much of an interesting game as Oklahoma, Michigan. I don't care who you are. 2 blue bloods going against each other. It's Oklahoma. It's Michigan. You got a real true helmet game here, a one that you look and see those helmets and you know exactly who's playing and you get pumped up for it. You know it's going to be two heads clashing. Hopefully no targeting's called on that. But it's going to be a big time matchup. And it's two programs that are looking to turn things around this season. And there's all kinds of hype going into this matchup. There's zero hype for Michigan, or sorry, for Mizzou or Kansas. Anyways, I just had to get that off my chest. So I like Parker. Parker, if you listen to this part, I'm not jabbing at you in any harmful intent. It's just I totally disagree with you, man. But anyways, South Carolina is going to take on South Carolina State, 6 p.m. on ESPN Plus, and then LSU taking on Louisiana Tech. I will be tuning into that one a little bit, as much as I can, at least going back and watching it, because I'm sure I'll be busy with the Oklahoma game at that time. But I just want to see LSU and their film, because I really think that they might be the best team in the nation right now, based on what I saw against Clemson. Now, it could have been totally misconstrued based on maybe both teams aren't as good as we are making them out to be. But that looked like a number 1, number 2 matchup right there, LSU Clemson. So if you didn't get to see that game last weekend, that was a fun one. Go back and watch it. I really think that those are two top teams in the nation. And so I'm going to be tuning into all the LSU games just because they look fun to watch this year. But Auburn, Ball State, not worried about that. Sorry, Blake. I'm not concerned. Not even going to tune in. I'll probably watch a snap or two. I'm interested to see what Jackson Arnold does. I know people hate on me because I like Jackson Arnold. I still support him. Want him to do well outside of the matchup against Oklahoma, but hate me for it. I don't care. And then Bama takes on UL Monroe. Man, what a disaster down there. And a big-time overreaction, and probably rightfully so for Alabama. I don't know. I was totally wrong. So I'll go through my preseason predictions real quick for you. And what I was saying was Oklahoma 8-4. And I still stand by that. I think that's my prediction for Oklahoma. I am hopeful for 9-3 or better, but my prediction is 8-4 for Oklahoma. Based on this past weekend, that really doesn't change, although the teams that I think could beat Oklahoma have changed. I'm not so sure about Alabama anymore. I'm taking that off of the list. So the 4 that I think Oklahoma really needs to focus in on now, I'm still going to put Texas up there. It's a rivalry game. Texas is still a good team. Okay, guys, I don't care. They played at Ohio State. So Texas is one that could beat Oklahoma. That could be one of the losses on the season. I'm not saying Oklahoma's going to lose. I think Oklahoma could win any one of the games this upcoming season. The next one, I think Tennessee is tougher than what I thought that they would be. Now, again, they went against Syracuse. Maybe Syracuse is no good. I don't think that's the case. I think Syracuse and what Fran Brown is building up there, I think they are a pretty decent team, and Tennessee really looked good. Joey Aguilar shocked me in that game. Another quarterback that I think looked really good. Third, South Carolina. That was on my list preseason. And then fourth, LSU, also on my list. Those are the 4 that I'm going to predict could, if there's 4 losses, those are the 4 that I would predict to be the losses for Oklahoma. Now, I think Oklahoma has a good chance against Tennessee. I think Oklahoma can beat Tennessee. I think Oklahoma has a very good chance against Texas, and I think they can beat Texas. The 2 that I'm a little more concerned about, because Lenore Sellers is a dude, South Carolina, LSU. Those are the 2 I'm still very concerned about. So if Oklahoma can perform well and get past this matchup here this weekend against Michigan, who also could be one of the teams that beats Oklahoma right now. Last I saw, 5.5-point favorites for Oklahoma. I like to see that. But if Oklahoma can get past Michigan, I think there's a very good chance at 10-2. And I'm feeling really good at that possibility. 9-3 is absolutely on the table. 8-4 would be a disappointment if you're able to perform really well against Michigan, because I really think Michigan's back. I think Michigan's good. So going back to my preseason predictions, I'm still going to stick to my prediction based on how Oklahoma did. I still see 8-4 in the cards for me. And again, that's more me just keeping myself from getting my hopes up. That, if I'm being totally honest with you, that's more what that is. But I also think that's a realistic and reasonable expectation to put on Oklahoma, 8-4. But I'm hopeful, and I really think if they can beat Michigan well and perform well this weekend, I'm starting to buy into the stock. I'm starting to get a little bit more of that hopium, and maybe a 9-3, 10-2 is on the table there for the Oklahoma Sooners. But anyways, I do think that this season there's a lot ahead of Oklahoma right now, and I just didn't see enough to really up my predictions from what my season predictions were preseason. But going into this Michigan matchup, I do think it's going to be tougher than what I thought, because I didn't think I really didn't have a whole lot of faith in Bryce Underwood performing to the standard that people thought he would. Didn't think it was going to happen. I also think that their run game was just, it looked very effective, specifically with Justice Haynes. That was one concern. And Oklahoma's run defense was a little concerning. I'm going to jump over to the live chat real quick because I see one that was brought up. Trojan Fight. First of all, welcome into the channel. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not sure why a Trojan. If it's the Trojan that I'm thinking of, I'm not sure why you're watching an Oklahoma channel other than maybe to troll. But anyways, he says Illinois State held Oklahoma to 103 rushing. Yeah, and that is the reason why I think I'm a little more concerned about Michigan going into this matchup, because that was a pitiful performance overall. You had a bright spot in Torrey Blaylock. Nobody else really had anything going. To Oklahoma's defense, you didn't have some of your starters in there. You're going to have Derek Simmons. You're going to have Sexton in. You're going to have more of your starters in there and performing, hopefully at a higher level, to make that run block scheme a little bit better. It wasn't as bad as some Oklahoma fans are trying to make it out to be on the offensive line, because the pass protection was amazing. John Mateer, I think it was somewhere it was mid 80s. That, according to PFF, 86% of the time he was protected well, something around that number. And so it was definitely mid 80s. And so the pass blocking was good. That's why I think the rushing doesn't need to concern Oklahoma too much, because you'll have Jaden Ott back in. Not back in, but you'll have Jaden Ott in, hopefully full strength. And you'll also have the offensive line true starters in there to be in there for Oklahoma. So not as much concern, but that's the main reason why this Michigan game concerns me, because Michigan is going to be tough on the defensive front. Is Oklahoma able to overcome that and run the ball effective enough to open up that pass game a little more? Because I do have faith in the pass game just fine. And I think John Mateer has given us hope there for that. I think we got a Michigan fan here in the chat. Well, welcome into the channel. Really looking forward to this matchup, and really looking forward to maybe meeting some Michigan fans down there too. If you're a Michigan fan watching this, comment down below if you're going to be at the game. I'd love to meet up and fist bump, and then maybe talk a little bit of trash after the game. I don't talk trash before the game. I don't talk trash after the game either, really. But anyways, he says, how can Michigan compete against a state that has a musical named after it? That is the biggest reason why I think Oklahoma is going to dominate, because it has a musical named after it. Does Michigan have a musical named after it? I don't think so. So how is that going to play out in this game for you, bud? Yeah. You guys think you stand a chance against Oklahoma? You don't even have a musical named after you. I like that, chat. A lot of fun. But no, I'm really looking forward to this matchup. And if you haven't seen the musical, you should watch it, because I've been told that I should watch it too. So that's why I'm believing that it must be pretty good. I haven't seen it. So if you have seen it, let me know. Should I watch it? Should I watch the musical Oklahoma? And is it just because I'm an Oklahoma fan that I should watch it? Because that's the only reason that I've ever been given in the past. But anyways, I like this comment. CE says, let's all agree that both teams have a better QB than Texas. Maybe a little early to predict that, but I do, based on week one, yeah, it sure feels like that. I will say this. I don't like doing this because I'm an Oklahoma fan, and you're not supposed to do this. I'm an Oklahoma media guy on top of it, and you're really not supposed to do this. But it was a really bad game by Arch. I'm not gonna disguise that. It was a really bad game by him. But it was also against a very tough defense, and it was first game of the season, and it was his first big time true road test. Give him some slack and just hold off, and let's see how he performs. after what I saw, if I really break it down and go into Arch Manning, maybe I'll do that for our members. Become a member today for as low as $2.99 a month, and maybe I'll break down some Arch Manning. Comment down below in the comments, not the live chat. Comment down below if you want me to break down some Arch Manning for our members. If you want me to do it for our non-members, I might do that as well. No, I really saw some really, really bad things. It did feel like he got a little bit better as the game went on. And so I will give him some slack because of that. But you have to start faster than that if you want to win big games. I'll agree with you, though. Oklahoma and Michigan both have a better quarterback than Texas. I'll agree with you right now. After week 1, they do. There is nothing that you can say that, there's nothing you can say that that Arch Manning was better than John Mateer or Bryce Underwood. Mars Jams in the chat. He says, "Boomer Sooner." Right back at you. Yeah, absolutely. I'm very excited for this matchup, Mars. I hope you are too. And Mars, I know you're in the chat all the time. So if you're in the Oklahoma City area, make sure you join us here on at Woodworks Distilling Company in Oklahoma City on Thursday. You can join all 3 of us hosts. We'll also have a special guest, Chris Phillips from SEC Unfiltered, to join us. We'll be there live previewing that matchup. Hope to see you there, Mars. Of course, for all of our listeners, we would love to just pack that place out. And on top of that, you're supporting a local business. And you don't have to get any alcoholic drinks, and I'm not even going to encourage it. But just go check it out. It is a beautiful venue. I haven't seen it in person yet, so I'm really excited to see it in person. The pictures make it look like a beautiful venue, and I've been told by reliable sources that it is a beautiful venue. So we are very excited to be there. So join us this Thursday, Woodworks Distilling Company in Oklahoma City at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time for our live show, and we will try to be live on YouTube still. If not, we'll post it right after we're done. I see Tony in the chat. I clicked on the wrong one here, but Underwood looked shocked, or Underwood looked shook at his place. He's going to be rattled in Norman. I really don't see that. Go back and watch the tape, dude. Watch the first moment that he stepped out on the field. That tells you everything. He had really good stats too for a true freshman's first start. I like getting in their head like that, like you're doing right now. I think that's what you're doing, and I like it. I like where your head's at. Keep that up. But if I'm being totally unbiased and realistic with this, 67%, anytime you're able to get over 60%, you're doing okay. If you can get above 65% as a quarterback, you're doing pretty solid. And then I think you take another notch if you're able to get above 70%, what John Mateer did with 30-some pass attempts, getting in above 80% is unheard of. So hats off to him. But for a true freshman coming in, Bryce Underwood looked really well. But I do think he can and should be rattled in Norman. Go back and listen. I should make a clip of Tierney last night. She was sitting there and just got me pumped up. Tierney, if you're listening to this, thank you, because you got me pumped up and ready for this weekend. If you are going to be in attendance at this Oklahoma game, I need you, and Tierney needs you to get up, scream until your lungs give out, and make so much noise. I'm going to try not to scream too much because I've got to reserve my voice for some of the podcast and doing a post-game show. But if I come on and don't have a voice, that's because I was doing my part. Make sure that you get really loud, because that environment has its opportunity to rattle Underwood. But he wasn't rattled at his own place. So, but hopefully Oklahoma can rattle him. He is a true freshman, and so I expect that from him. And there's no shade thrown towards him if that's the case. But Ohio State fan here from Brian Myers. He says, Ohio State fan here, hoping you smoke cheat again this Saturday. I actually posted on X too and said, it's kind of like a handshake between Ohio State and Oklahoma fans for 2 weeks in a row, because Oklahoma fans were all like, hey, whoop up on Texas, man. We're rooting you on. And I was rooting for Ohio State because my wife is an Ohio State alum, and because I'm an Oklahoma fan. But and so I'm going to root against Texas. But then I also said, then Michigan and Texas fans kind of, Michigan Texas fans kind of shaking hands for 2 weeks in a row as they're cheering on. So it's kind of rivals trading places there and cheering each other on. But no, I appreciate you tuning in, and I will pass that along to the team as best I can to make sure that they do something. THS last said he shook. Yeah, you didn't watch the game or highlights. Hey, he's getting in your head, all right, and that's what it's all about. It's Michigan hate week, as we like to say as college football fans. Listen, I'm really bad at that. I don't do any of the hate talk or anything like that. I don't do any of the trash talk. But just it's not my style. But I do appreciate people who do it really well. Plenty of burner accounts on Twitter for that. I'm not one of them. Back to Tony. He says, I watched the whole game. His throws were flat and progressions were slow. He can't do that against OSU or against OU. Man, I looked up and saw Ohio State and said OU. I apologize for that, Oklahoma fans, because I know what that means. Oklahoma. He can't do that against Oklahoma. Type out Oklahoma, the whole thing, because I love it. It's a beautiful, beautiful entire word, and put it in all caps. It's the best way to do it. Plus, it helps me not to screw up whenever I'm reading that. But no, yeah, Tony, there were moments for Bryce in that game, and there were moments, but he's a true freshman, and you expect it. If you're being completely, is it subjective or objective? Whichever one I'm supposed to use there. If you're being totally unbiased about the situation, stepping back, looking at that film from Bryce Underwood and how he performed week one, remember, he is a true freshman stepping into. And David Cohn, rewind, go back and watch what David Cohn said. If you didn't, we're also going to put that clip out itself. So feel free to wait and watch the entirety of the clip. It'll probably be a little bit better quality too, because we'll post that clip separate. But I mean, if you look at Bryce Underwood as a true freshman, David Cohn mentioned this in my discussion with him and previewing this game, that David Cohn was one of, if not the best quarterback to have ever come out of his hometown. And he made it to Michigan. And in his entirety of Michigan, at the best that he's ever been, never got to do or was never able to perform at the level that Bryce Underwood was able to perform. So when you really put that into perspective of a true freshman stepping into those shoes, that you are a Michigan quarterback, you are a quarterback and a starting quarterback for the University of Michigan at this high of a level as a true freshman. That's an incredible level that you've reached. And yeah, I mean, he played really well. And to your point there too, he's supposed to be the best QB prospect ever. Name me one QB prospect that played better than Bryce Underwood as a true freshman in his first game ever. I do hope that Oklahoma is able to get rowdy and do something big this weekend. Stoops Defied, what's up? He says he has a true freshman skills. Bless him. He does. He has true freshman skills, and he is really good. I'm not going to sit here and act like Bryce Underwood's not good. I'm sorry. I'm not there for you. But yeah, I mean, I first game of the season, first game of his entire career, that was a really good performance, solid performance. I don't have anything super negative to take away from him. If I'm a Michigan fan, I'm saying, hey, he didn't throw an interception. And that's the biggest thing. No turnovers. Win that turnover battle. So yeah, that's a big one. THS last said, I'm going to go back to him real quick because he brings up a good one. I thought OU crowd was a little quiet, better be loud. Okay, little quiet, better be louder than last Saturday. Yeah, 100%. And to your point too, even at the Big House, I'm sure if you've been to the Big House, I'm assuming you're a Michigan fan. So apologies if I'm wrong there. But if you've been to the Big House in a little game, you're going against an FCS opponent, the crowd doesn't get as loud there. I wish it did. I agree with you. I think the crowd should be loud, and I don't think that stadium should empty. I don't care if you're winning by 50 or losing by 50. I don't think that stadium should start to empty until you see that clock hit zero. That's my opinion. I don't leave until after the game is finished, no matter what. I have stayed through some brutal games, and I have stayed through some extremely fun games where we were killing somebody 50 plus points. So that's my opinion, and I do agree with you. It better be louder. And again, go back and watch Tierney's little clip there of her trying to hype Oklahoma fans to get loud. Going back to Brian, he says, it's great that you guys get to have primetime games. I remember those. Man, I hate that too. I'm glad to hear you say that because I feel like I know a lot of Ohio State fans, Big Ten fans that are fine with the big noon kickoffs. I hate that. I absolutely hate the big noon kickoffs. I hate when Oklahoma played them. The only time when the noon kickoff feels right is Oklahoma, Texas, and they've kind of taken that away from Oklahoma, Texas. I'm happy that it's at 2:30. I think it gives people at the game a little bit more time to kind of go around the festivities around and all that. Sure, but honestly, not even that, because you can just go do all that stuff after the game. Make it an all-day event. That's the way it's supposed to be. But that's the only time that the noon kickoff feels right. So I'm glad to hear you, and I'm sure you think that way. Probably with the Michigan game too, with that rivalry game. So yeah, I hate it. I hate that they try to make it into a primetime game because I have tried my hardest to be pumped up and ready to go by 11 o'clock Central Standard Time, noon Eastern, at games before when I go. And there's just not, it's not there. The energy is not there. And to Ohio State's credit, the last several times that I've gone to Ohio State games with my wife and her family, or even just going, yeah, I guess mainly with her, just going to Ohio State games. The last few times that I've been there, it's been underwhelming, but it has been noon kickoffs, and so I can't discredit people for that. I was, not to bring it up to you, Brian, I'm sorry for mentioning this, so plug your ears, but when I was even at the Oklahoma Ohio State game when Baker planted the flag, that one, it was only kind of underwhelming because I felt like Oklahoma fans really showed out for that game. And so again, kind of have to balance that out and say, give credit where credit's due. It's not that Ohio State maybe was not a great atmosphere, and I'm not saying that at all. It's just it was underwhelming. And again, I think I hyped Ohio State Stadium up so much in my head the first time that I went there that it just underwhelmed me. But I do think they have a great, probably at least top 10 atmosphere. So I'm not taking that away. But it's mainly the noon kickoffs. To get back to your point, I hate noon kickoffs. Hate them with a passion. Corey says, you go into the game on Saturday. I will be there at the game on Saturday. I'm trying to remember what end zone I'm sitting in this year, but I'll be down in the end zone. I like the end zones. I really do. I like 50-yard line. If you can sit on 50-yard line midway up on the lower level, that's like some prime seats right there. But I like the end zone. I like being able to see from either the offense or defense point of view, kind of from the back. It's not as fun when they're on the other side of the field. But when they're closer to you on the end zones, personally, that's my favorite. So yeah. Hey Corey, if you're asking because you want to say hello, join us in Oklahoma City at Woodworks Distilling Company on Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. All three of us hosts here at Oklahoma State. Oklahoma. See, I did that again. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, Oklahoma fans. Oklahoma Sooners. Oklahoma at the voice of college football. We will be live at 7 o'clock on Thursday at Woodworks Distilling Company in Oklahoma City. It's getting late. We've had a long show tonight, so I appreciate all you guys for jumping in the chat. Anyways, THS showing it up here and throwing a little bit of shade. I'm not even going to read it. We're not going to pay attention to that. We're supposed to be hating Michigan right now. No, I like the banter. That's what makes college football fun, is all the banter, and we get to sit here and have fun, and we don't have to truly hate each other as human beings. Okay. And so I appreciate you for jumping in here, THS last. Mars Jam says, I would not be saying anything about Ohio. They won. Yeah. They did win. Michigan won too though. So, and Michigan's won more. I'm not going to say that because I like Brian. He is our resident. He's our ally this week. So we're just going to put that to the side. He says, when you travel to Michigan, I don't know what you're trying to say. No, the big house. It's the quietest big stadium I've ever been in. Ohio State, Penn State, and Oregon are much louder. Yeah, there's some big stadiums. I'm trying to think what the loudest stadium. Obviously, if we're going NFL stadiums, Arrowhead Stadium got really loud. I was there once for, I've been there several times, but I was there once for AFC Championship game against the Bengals. I was cheering on Samaje Perine and Joe Mixon, obviously Joey Burr. But yeah, so I was there at that game, and that game was deafening loud. Like I thought I'd been to some loud atmospheres. That was deafening loud. I'm not sure. I really have to think about that. I'm trying to think of some big games that I've been to. Oh, Ohio State, Oklahoma was loud. I'm not saying that it wasn't loud there. It was loud. It was just I felt like Oklahoma fans really showed up for that one. So that might have been the loudest stadium I've been in, probably. No. Nebraska, Colorado last year. That might have been louder than that Chiefs Bengals AFC Championship game, and we were way up at the top, and it was still deafening up there. Nebraska fans are the greatest fan base in all of college football. That's just hands down because they've been losing for how long now, and they still show up. So yeah, that might be the loudest one. I know, Brian. I used to live in around the Columbus area, so that's where I met my wife. Used to live around the Columbus area, so I know the big old red X on all the McDonald's M signs, all the street signs. I know what that's all about. I was just giving you a hard time. But going back to Corey, he says I went to the Illinois State game. I want to go to the game this weekend, but also, sorry, this weekend also. Sorry, it's getting late. But I live in Tulsa. It's a lot of money just to go there. I'll probably go to the Auburn game though. I might be down there for the Auburn game. It's a much further drive than Tulsa for me, but I will probably be down at the Auburn game if you're able to make it down. We'll probably have something set up there too. So yeah, we there's a lot of good games to go to this year, and you're right, the price is ridiculous anymore. Um, I'm going to plug something here. It's not a paid sponsorship, and I probably shouldn't be plugging it without paid sponsorship. But I'm going to plug it anyways for you. If you look on Saturday morning, see if you can get on there Saturday morning on the Game Time app. Just see if it's in your price range. You're welcome. I'm just throwing that one out there for you because sometimes that is the way to go. That's the end of my plug. Again, no paid sponsorship from them or anything, but Game Time, hit me up if you want to put your slot, and we will try to get it a little bit more here on the show. And then also probably won't go to game day. I don't know. I might stop by maybe. I'll see what I'm doing on Saturday. Got a lot that I'm going to try to get to on Saturday, but definitely got to go to I think it's called the Press and Plow. Again, another that's one that I'll plug because I think it's a local place. Really good coffee, but man, some really good breakfast food, breakfast burrito. They have a really good, I think it's the Roughnecks. It's on their to-go menu. If you look on that, it's not on their regular. I think it's like the Roughneck sandwich, something along those lines. Get that. That is amazing. Their little tater tot hash brown, amazing. But I'll definitely be going there for breakfast. Just because I like that place a lot. That's my tradition. Any game day when I'm down in Norman for the baseball season, that's what I go to. And then it's becoming a tradition for football. I actually just found out about it in baseball season. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. No, Corey, I don't have any extra tickets. If I were to happen to fall across some, then I will try to reach out to you. But no, I don't happen to have any extra tickets. I'm going to jump over to our poll real quick because I want to see what you guys had to say. We had quite a few of you guys comment over here on the poll, and it says Oklahoma. So who wins Oklahoma versus Michigan matchup? Obviously, I knew that Oklahoma was going to lead on this poll, but Oklahoma leads 78%. We have some Michigan guys tune in tonight, so I'm sure, and if you're an Oklahoma fan clicking Michigan you think that Michigan's going to win, kudos to you for being completely, unbiased in your pick. But I'll give my official prediction. Oh, it just bumped up to 80%. So if you haven't voted, hurry up and get your vote in here in the next 10 seconds. I'm going to end the poll here in about 10 seconds or so, maybe a little bit longer than that. But yeah, anyways, I will give my official predictions this Thursday. Again, join all three of us here at Oklahoma at the Voice of College Football. All three of us hosts are going to be live at Woodworks Distilling. We are pumping that out, trying to get that instilled into your guys' brain because we want to see you there at Woodworks Distilling Company in Oklahoma City, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. We're going to be live, hopefully live on YouTube as well. So apologies if we aren't. It's just because we didn't get a good enough connection. I don't know what that looks like right now. But once we're there and get that all situated, we will try to be live. But appreciate everybody so much for tuning in. And then, of course, very excited for this upcoming week and everything that is going to go into this big time matchup. Very excited to see how the Oklahoma Sooners perform. A quick word from Mark Rogers, the owner and main guy here at the Voice of College Football Network, and then we'll be closing out the show. So again, appreciate everybody so much for tuning in. Here's a quick word from Mark Rogers.
College football is even more exciting when you've got some action on the line, and the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the Voice of College Football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread, and I've got a 40-plus year track record. 11-0 in the college football playoff for me last year against the money line, 8-3 against the spread. And I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill of Wager Talk is our ace in the hole, show stopper. 7 years with the Voice of College Football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick. 28-12 against the spread the last 3 years. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Corey Bratta, Matt Zemek, and Steve Dace. Check out those numbers. Become a YouTube or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click join, and then select a betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2025 a winner now.